welcome everyone. Welcome to Dance Chat number 3. The topic is the Los Angeles salsa dance scene. Um, welcome. I am dance coach Rudy V. If you just came in, I'm on actually YouTube Live and Instagram Live, and read all the details below if you just coming in seeing this video. You can actually click on my links below and contact me on Instagram as well. Add me on Instagram, contact me. My link is below. Check out my dance website for my current dance classes. And, I teach out here in the San Fernando Valley in California. And I offer dance classes, private lessons, and pretty much dance coaching as well. It's more of a holistic approach with dance. um, so definitely, and yeah, I teach salsa, bachata, cumbia, cha cha cha, merengue, rockabilly, jive, swing, house, and popping. So definitely. So if you want to come join the chat, just be follow the chat rules below. Be respectful, civil, contribute to the topic, and if you want to come join me, let me know. Send me a message in my chat room. I'll send you a link. Anyways, let's get to the topic: the Los Angeles salsa dance scene. Wow, where do I start? Maybe I should just go into my history and my experience with the Los Angeles salsa dance scene. So, how did I actually get interested in salsa? I actually had a friend who told me to try some salsa dance classes, and was already a dancer in the past. I did popping in the '80s as a kid, house dancing in the '90s, but I never had experience dancing with people, like in terms of partner dance. I've doing solo style dancing is different from actually um, dancing with partners. It's a different approach, different skill level. Um, so a friend of mine actually told me, "Hey, man, you should go join some salsa dance classes." And I tried it out, and at first, I was a beginner, and oh man, I was like, wow, this is not easy. And sometimes dance can be intimidating, and you have this mindset, like sometimes it turns people off, like they think it's too hard, right? Especially salsa, and but I had the mindset is like, okay, I can't stop here. I'm gonna keep coming to classes, keep training. Eventually I'll get it, and that's what happened. I kept taking a bunch of dance classes all over the place in Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, from all kinds of famous instructors, some of them legends. Um, I kept taking dance classes everywhere, constantly, um, every week, and I got to the point where, okay, it's time for me to start social dancing. And social dancing, I found out, is a whole different element. So when you're in dance classes, you learn the choreography, right? You learn the steps, the rhythms, the timing, etc. And but when you're trying to social dance, it's a whole different thing. It's more spontaneous. and it's requires experience, you know. So at first I was like, oh shoot, um, it wasn't too easy doing any kind of salsa social dancing. And when you're a beginner, you kind of like forget. Like as a guy, you have to memorize a lot of patterns, right? And there's times where you forget. And so you're like, oh, you're barely a beginner and you're doing all these just basic in a pattern, basic in a pattern. And people know when you're a beginner. People usually when you do your basic back and forth, and if you do that all day or a few patterns and you do that all day, people know that you're a beginner. People watching you on the sidelines, or even women that dance with you, they know that you're a beginner, right? But I kept at it. I kept going to classes, learning from the best of the best in Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, and started even. I got really hardcore with it. I started writing down all these patterns on my notebook. Before there wasn't no cell phones, right? There wasn't cell phones, so I was trying to memorize all these patterns, and I would fill up my notebooks with all these salsa patterns. And I still got to find that notebook. I have it somewhere, but it's a big fat notebook full of patterns. But now we have modern technology where you could bust out with your cell phone and just record someone, right? You got to ask the instructor for permission, right? Um, and Yeah, it's just back then it was different. So I've learned from various instructors. And actually, I'm gonna give some names out here. So I'll give props where props is due. Um, so I started my first class with a salsa dance instructor named Alejandro Sol, and he's still teaching dance out here. He's a friend of mine, and he in his classes at times he was teaching salsa, bachata, cumbia, merengue, right? And right away I got introduced to all those dances, right? And he helped me learn all those different dances. And Alejandro So has an interesting history. He was actually another famous instructor out here in Los Angeles. um, they say that he's one of the kind of like the one of the founders of the LA style salsa out here. Although there's a bunch of them out here, but he was real famous back then. His name was Alex de Silva, and man, that guy he danced really good. Although he got in trouble, but you got to give credit where credit's due. He was a really good dancer, famous dancer. And so what happened is I was taking lots of classes with Alejandro Sol, right? And I started going to other dance instructors, right? And I found out about Alex de Silva, and I was going to a lot of his classes, you know, a lot out here in the San Fernando Valley. It was Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio when that was actually, you know, when that, they actually tore down Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio, and that was unfortunate. That was a legendary place where you actually learn dance in North Hollywood in the San Fernando Valley. And but yeah, I would attend Alex de Silva's classes a lot, and he taught also. I think it was in Hollywood somewhere as well at a gym. I would attend his classes there, and sometimes he would have socials too, clubs, and I think it was out there in Hollywood as well. And Yeah, I actually I was taking a lot of his courses, and I mean his salsa classes, and and he had a famous dance partner at that time, Alian Ramirez, and she was a really good dancer too. She's Cuban, and she knows all the Afro-Cuban dance and everything. She's really flexible. You should see her in her performances with Alex da Silva, and she became a famous champion. Alex da Silva used to compete at the Mayan back in the day when the salsa scene had competitions at the Mayan. But yeah, Alex da Silva has some really good patterns, man, and I just soaked them up. I soaked them up, and I still do a lot of his patterns. And even when I teach my dance patterns, my salsa patterns, and I definitely have a lot of Alex da Silva patterns there. So that's where I'm giving credit where credit's due. There's lineage in this stuff. So Alex da Silva was back then. He was running the San Fernando Valley. And unfortunately, he got in trouble and he left to Brazil. But when he was here, man, the dance scene was popping. Like people were dancing, you know, the style, the LA style that Alex da Silva created, and you saw really good dancers out here in the San Fernando Valley, even all throughout Los Angeles. But when he left, I say the salsa level of dance it went down the drain, kind of. I'm just being real out here because I look around, I observe at the clubs, and I don't I don't see a lot of people dancing really. When I look at their salsa patterns, there's some exceptions. There's some really good dancers out there, but the average person out there, a lot of people at the salsa clubs are very beginner, and they're doing patterns that are like, I don't know, they're just the same old patterns, um, like beginner patterns and everything. And you don't see the really cool patterns, the hardcore, what's it called, pretzels, and different types of arm patterns that you would see that Alex da Silva used to teach, you know, and that's why I make it. I actually I kind of preserve a lot of what Alex da Silva teaches, like what he taught, and I keep it going. I teach people these a lot of these patterns, so I definitely, and then I used to dance with Arleon in her classes, with Alex da Silva, and Aliyah, man, she was amazing. She did workshops. I would take her Afro-Cuban workshops, and man, I'm an old school popper, so we do waves, right? And then there's the type of popping where you're doing body rolls and all that stuff and body waves. Well, it just came natural for me when I took her workshop. I saw what she was doing, and I was like, oh, okay, I see. So I started doing all that. It just became easy, doing all those body waves and all this Afro-Cuban movements, and it was cool, pretty cool having that experience, getting to learn from one of the founders of the LA style salsa out here, Alex da Silva, and a lot of people were under Alex da Silva out here. Alejandro Sol was one. I am one as well. There was another guy who I actually learned a lot from was Walter Jones, and he's famous for as the Black Power Ranger, right? And if you guys know what the Power Rangers are, he's the one in has the black what is it, the it's like the black little designs, and he he actually he was under Alex de Silva, and he also competed in the Mayan, and he won the championship too as well. And Walter Jones, I used to take a lot of his classes, and I actually liked his dance classes. He taught at Mama Juana's. Mama Juana's was the place to go out here in the San Fernando Valley. And it's too bad it closed down. It was right there on Ventura Boulevard. But Mama Juana's, all kinds. They would rotate different legendary dance instructors. And my experience, Walter Jones, he was there a lot, so I was just soaking up all his patterns. And he taught really cool club moves, really cool club moves, And I think a lot of times, like when you're out there social dancing, you don't want to pull off hardcore advanced moves unless the girl's really good. If she's really good, and you gotta test it. You gotta see if she's really good at dancing salsa. A lot of times when I test women, I start off very basic with them. And one of my tests is that um, what I do is I do one turn on them and I see how good their turn is. If their turn is not that good and they're over there fumbling around, I know, okay, I can't get um, too crazy, And so, but if I see her turn is very smooth and she's like, oh, she's on point, then I take it a little higher and I'm like, okay, you start little by little, gradually, working, at the level of patterns. You start off, you try this, you try that, and you see if they can hang. And if they can hang and they're smooth with it, you keep going to a higher level. And it's amazing. Like sometimes I come across women that dance really well. Not a lot of them though. A lot of them out there in the clubs, what the thinking with women is that they think they already know how to dance, and that they don't need to take dance classes, right? And so they go out to the club, and they're over there fumbling around. They can't hang with certain patterns, right? Or they're very basic, right? So, but there are some exceptions out there, and there's some really good dancers out there. But I would say very few. And I remember I was at a LA Salsa Congress, and late at night, I was dancing with this one lady. Oh my gosh, she was so good, and I just went off. I said, okay, this lady's really good. So I was like spinning her a lot and doing all these crazy patterns. I call them crazy patterns. A lot of good stuff. She was really good, and you kind of value that because you know you're so used to dancing with these beginners or women that are not too good at the club. But then you come across someone that's really good. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh man, this is cool. You just enjoy the dance with them. You enjoy the night, right? Dancing with them, and that happens. But Haikai, back to Mama Juana's. Let's go back to that right there. So a lot of different instructors used to come through. Alex De Silva was one. Actually, I remember Alex De Silva was teaching one time, and and I actually what happened is bachata was barely um, people were barely learning bachata out here, and I actually learned a lot of bachata from certain people out here, and not too many people were dancing bachata out here. It wasn't even popular yet. Like when they played bachata, all the people in the dance floor would sit down, and in matter of fact, it was like I would be at Mama Juana's, and I would be the only bachata dancer at that time, dancing with women there, and very few women actually knew how to dance. I would just kind of guide them, like kind of, okay, like kind of talk to them. It's just step, 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 tap, step. Just the some it was urban style bachata, okay, and it wasn't Dominican style. It's more of the urban style. So what happened is, you know, I actually learned bachata first with Alejandro Sol as well as Oscar Ramirez. He used to teach out here in the San Fernando Valley at Hamas Dance Studio, and but I picked up on the basics of bachata, and I picked up on the basics of bachata, and what happened is, the secret is that a lot of the bachata instructors out here, actually there was very few of them, but I know Alejandro Sol and Oscar Ramirez were teaching it, and they would actually put salsa patterns in the bachata, and I discovered out, and actually, um, I remember a long time ago, Alejandro Sol told me, yeah, that's what I do. I put salsa arm patterns in the bachata basic, and and this was before like hardly anyone would dance bachata, right? And and Oscar Ramirez and Alejandro Sol were like barely teaching this. They wouldn't teach it all the time. They would teach more like salsa, but they did teach bachata at times, and it was like only a few people in their classes would actually learn bachata. Everywhere else, you didn't see bachata social dancing at that time. Every time they would play bachata like only a few people would be dancing. So I was at Mama Juana's, and Alex da Silva and Alian saw me doing bachata, like dancing, right? And they wanted to learn. Like they saw me, they didn't know how to dance bachata, right? And and Alex da Silva came up to me and asked me, "Hey, how do you dance this? How do you dance bachata?" And I broke it down to him, and I told him, "Hey, man, you could put salsa in it." So I actually demonstrated. He Alian, you know, he had Alian actually partner up with me, and I showed her how to bachata dance. This is when Alian didn't know bachata, right? And you could say this is when Alian Ramirez didn't know bachata. So you could say that I introduced her to bachata. And it's amazing that she became a world famous bachata champion. So I got some history on that. So Alex da Silva, like I told him, hey, you could even put your what he had was called sexy moves in salsa, right? You could even put that in your bachata as well. So that was my experience with Alex da Silva at Mama Juana's, and so there was different instructors that would go to Mama Juana's and rotate. You had Walter Jones as well. He was just and I was dedicated. I was there all the time. He knew who I was, right? The way I am is I'm very dedicated and disciplined. I'm there all the time, soaking stuff up. And I did it because I had a passion for the dance. I just love dancing. I fell in love with salsa. And and then after and then there was different instructors. Abel Benya, he's a international world salsa champion, and you know he would come in and teach as salsa as well, and I would learn from him as well. And where else? Who else used to teach them? I'm trying to remember. There was different instructors, but those are the ones that actually stuck out for me. Walter Jones, Alex da Silva, Abel Pena, and Mama Juana is really cool. They used to have live bands. It was really cool dancing there. Like it was like a restaurant, and people dancing there all the time. It would get jam packed there. It was really cool place. The Valley Mama Juanas was happening back then, and then we also have. I remember out here in the Los Angeles salsa dancing, we had what was called Olivia's restaurant. It was in Burbank, and this is where I met Mike Ticas. Rest in peace, Mike Ticas. And I learned a lot from him as well. Christina Haggerty and Mike Ticas at Olivia's, and I would talk to Mike Ticas, and he would say, I was he was teaching some basic cumbia, and I already learned some cumbia from Alejandro Soul, right? But I would talk to him like, hey man, what's your secret to know learning cumbia? And he says, yeah, well, cumbia is like he just puts a lot of salsa patterns in there. I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that. And you just like do the cumbia basic with it, right? And you put salsa patterns in there. I was like, oh, okay, I see. So I used to talk to a lot of instructors to find out their secrets. I'm actually revealing it to you guys right now. And then he would do some bachata too. He started teaching that eventually with Christina Haggerty. And Olivia's was really cool, really fun place. Um, it was happening, I think it was happening like on every Tuesday and Sunday or something. And I think Mike and Christina were there. I'm not too sure if it was on Tuesdays or what. So Olivia's was happening. A lot of salseros would be there, and it was fun. That lasted for a while, and just like Mama Juana's, it closed down as well. And Mike Ticas and Christina moved to Ventura Boulevard to another spot. But Olivia's was happening, man. It was happening. I mean, I remember I used to go there for the summer. Like we would go to Olivia's first, and then in the summer they had like, actually, we would go to the Autry Center. Oh, I gotta get on that too. The Autry Center summer salsa nights. You ever get a chance? You gotta check it out. It's happening every summer. So I would go to the Autry, dance salsa, and then after just come to Olivia's. It's kind of like club hopping, right? We would club hop, from one salsa event to another salsa event, right? So we went to the Autry. The Autry is always happening every summer. Keep an eye out for those, and lots of the salsa community out here, Los Angeles and the Valley. They all go to the Autry out there in Burbank and the Autry Museum, and live bands. It gets jam packed there. Lots of really good bands out there. You know, I met some legends, man, even before they passed away. That performed there. Was it Francisco Ayawa? I forgot his Awavera, something Awayev. I forgot the exact. There's a name of a salsa song. This famous guy Francisco. I forgot his last name, but he was from Cuba. This guy, man, he's a legend. He was a legend. I got to see him before he passed away, and a lot of legendary salsa bands coming through. You ever get a chance, definitely go to the Autry every summer. It's gonna be happening this summer. But yeah, we would go to Autry. Me and my buddies, all my friends, we kind of have a little group of friends. We call ourselves True Salseros, and the friend that actually introduced me to salsa dance classes, he's still he still dances salsa as well. And we have a group, and we all meet up there, and we're dancing at the archery a lot in the summer. Then I would leave and go to Olivia's, right? And then do more social dancing, dance the night away, And the Olivia's was cool, and it was not only Mike and Christina that used to teach there. Um, actually, let's go in a little history of Mike Tikas and Christina Haggerty. I think they were actually part of the first salsa dance company out here. Um, was it Brava Dance Company or something like that? I think it was Joby Brava, and I think they were the actual first Los Angeles salsa dance team out here. So Mike and Christina were part of that, and so Olivia's had another instructor there. Um, what's his name? Sergio Leo, uh, Leal, Sergio, and at that time, I forgot his what. Sergio and Salud at that time. Um, they used to teach there, and Sergio was. I found out he was under Alex De Silva, and I was like, "Oh, these patterns seems familiar." And so Sergio would teach at Olivia's, and me and my friend, my friend that introduced me to salsa, he's from Ecuador, and we started, he used to go to Alejandro Souls, and so did I, and then we both started going to Alex De Silva's, and we also started going to Sergio's dance classes too. He had dance classes by the Glendale Galleria at that time, and he he used to teach a lot of good stuff. He would have had I think it was on Mondays or something like that back then, and he would teach a lot of good patterns. If you actually got to his advanced classes, man, those patterns were really good. I actually give props to Sergio. I've been to his advanced classes and soaked up a lot of those dance patterns, and I actually talked to him as well, and I found out his secret. So like his beginner level was like, okay, very beginner basic, like salsa patterns, right? And then he got different levels, but then you get to the intermediate, it's more kind of intermediate patterns, like you got little chunks of it, right? And his secret, he told me, for his advanced class, his advanced patterns, he connects all those intermediate patterns, and they're pretty much like long patterns. So that's the advanced level right there, and they're really good patterns, and I learned a lot from there. He has Alex De Silva influence, just like Alejandro Sol and Walter Jones, right? Um, Although Walter Jones, he has an Alex De Silva influence, but every instructor gives their own twist to it, their own influence as well. So it's not exactly like Alex De Silva's. Like Walter Jones kind of made some simplified, like really cool club moves. Alejandro So kind of put different styles in his salsa too. I think he kind of dances like kind of like the Cuban as well. And then you have Sergio, who he came out with his own style as well. He's Alex De Silva influence, but his patterns, his advanced patterns were really good, man, really good. But you have to be really good to be able to hang in his advanced class, and he just doesn't let anybody be part of his advanced class. So I was part of his advanced classes, and definitely soaked up a lot of those dance, um, soaked up a lot of his dance patterns, salsa dance patterns. So definitely. So back to Alejandro Sol. I was always constantly there. He. What happened is all. This is how I started. I became a salsa instructor, right? I started teaching salsa, bachata, merengue, cha cha cha, is through Alejandro Soul, and he saw that I was really good, right? Knew all his patterns and everything at that time, and he asked me if I wanted to substitute for him. There's times where he couldn't teach his dance classes at times, and he asked me if I wanted to substitute. So I started substituting for Alejandro Soul, started teaching at Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio, taught at some of his spots at some gyms in North Hollywood, and definitely the Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio um, was pretty cool experience. It's cool because I could now say that, oh, okay, I taught at Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio. Because that's a legendary dance studio right there, and and I also taught at Red Hot Ballroom on Ventura Boulevard. It was a popular place for people, um, the Dancing with the Stars. People would teach there as well, and I would be teaching salsa along with I think at Red Hot Ballroom. I remember Liz Lira teaching there as well. So it's me, Liz Lira, Alejandro Soul, different instructors there. Um, some of them from the Dancing with the Stars as well. Liz Lira, if you don't know who she is, she's famous too. She started competing with Alex de Silva at the Mayan, and she became a world champion with what's his name, Christian Oviedo, and he's famous too. Really good dancer, Christian Oviedo. I mean, he's created his own style as well. Actually, I learned a lot from him too. I used to take his dance classes too out there in Santa Monica, and he still teaches as well. He's a world champion too, and really great dancer. And when that guy can spin, he can spin like real fast. Um, he definitely was influenced too by Francisco Vasquez. They say he's one of the fathers of LA style salsa as well. Francisco Vasquez, I also learned from him as well. I took his classes and everything. He has really good footwork. I like his footwork. A lot of good stuff there. Christian too as well. But definitely the Red Hot Ballroom is interesting. And so I started pretty much learning. I mean, actually teaching, getting that teaching dance experience under Alejandro Sol, and eventually I broke off and started teaching my own dance classes. And just from that experience, I was like, kind of like, um, I broke off and started teaching salsa, bachata, cumbia, cha cha cha, merengue, and and this is where I started with Alejandro Sol under his wing, and I first started substituting for him, uh, and I started training even the female steps, because when you're a dance instructor, you gotta learn the female aspect too. So I was actually shadowing, seeing how the ladies would dance, and all the steps and everything. Really researched and studied, And as a dance instructor, that's what you got to do. You got to research and study. You got to constantly do that because there's always new stuff, new moves out there, and you got to stay marketable in some sense. So, but yeah, definitely. That's just where I started with Alejandro Sol. Started teaching my own dance classes, and back to Olivia's. I used to take a lot of dance classes with Sergio as well, and I actually, I guess, I asked, I was actually um, going to be a dance instructor for Sergio at that time, but I was already kind of like independent, right? I was doing my own dance classes, right? And I was almost going to be a dance instructor for Sergio, but what happened is like, um, he kind of wanted to be like, he wanted me to be only under him, and I couldn't really be independent. And so I was like, I go, it's okay, man. I'll go ahead and do my own classes and everything. But I had the opportunity to teach with Sergio, but I still, I mean, that happens, it's like, um, but I still, respect, Sergio and a lot of his salsa, um, style, and especially his patterns. And even taking his classes, you meet a lot of people. I actually met one of his assistants, salsa instructor assistant, and she's an actress too. I was like, oh shoot, I didn't know that. She's an actress, and you'll be surprised who you bump into in the dance scene out here. It's like a lot of famous people out here. Um, so definitely, Olivia's was an experience. It was a cool spot at that time in Burbank. You had out here. It was Olivia's and Mama Juana's, and then you had another one. It was out in Ventura Boulevard. I actually forgot the name, but that was the spot. Like the all Sunday was pure salsa dancing. I just forgot the name, but it was on Ventura Boulevard, and it started from the afternoon all the way to late at night. If you were a hardcore salsero, you would be there. I was there. I was there all day Sunday, and it was cool because they had dance classes there. And just like Mama Juana's, they had different instructors rotating there. So you would learn from the best of the best out here in Los Angeles in the Valley, And a lot of different instructors would come in and teach. Mike Tikas was there. You even had Charlene Rose, who was, who's also a choreographer and popular female salsa instructor. She would teach there sometimes. Um, it was just different instructors rotating. There were so many of them, um, and I would just learn and soak it up. Learn a lot. I know Oscar Ramirez taught there too at times, and yeah. Oh, and speaking of Oscar Ramirez, like he was one of the coolest salsa instructors out here, and at times she would use me to do the female steps, and I didn't mind because I had to learn the female steps in order to teach um, salsa, right? And so he would pull me out, hey, do this for me, like and so I would do it, right? I would do the follow. um, but yeah, he was a cool instructor, and he used to teach at El Floriditas, and that was a spot too. That was another club that was out there in Hollywood, and it's still happening. Actually, Alejandro Sold, he's there teaching now. Oscar Ramirez actually allowed Alejandro Sold to take over his classes at Hamas Studio in the San Fernando Valley near Ventura Boulevard. Oscar Ramirez used to teach at Hamas for a long time, and Oscar Ramirez was, I think he was also part of the first salsa dance team out here. and he's old school as well. And he he would teach a lot of good footwork. I used to like his footwork, his classes. He would teach like all kinds of different stuff there. Really good, cool instructor. He was one of the coolest personalities. Really cool guy. I much respect. There's some instructors out here where have really cool personalities. Some are a bit shady, but really cool guy. And so he used to teach at F Floriditas, and I actually bumped into him in out there in was it West Hollywood when I was taking swing classes at what's the name of that studio? I just can't remember that dance studio. There was a dance studio out there in West Hollywood. I was learning East Coast swing, and I took a lot of their courses there. And I came across Oscar Ramirez there. And I was like, oh shoot, you're here. And it's like, oh, he goes, oh, you're taking swing, and I go, yeah, I'm taking swing. I didn't know he taught salsa there too as well. But really cool guy, you know. Um, so yeah, El Floriditas was happening, and still happening too, you know. And they will have live bands there. Definitely, that's the spot right there. Then you had, you know, I'm covering the valley, and then I'm gonna expand to Los Angeles. But out here in the valley, okay, you had Olivia's, which was happening. You had Mama Juana's, and then you had the Roomba Room. Oh man, that was a spot too. Actually, okay, before I go to the Roomba Room, let me go back to that Sundays one, that one on Ventura Boulevard. Um, it was happening from the afternoon, and then you dance salsa all the way late at night. Sometimes DJ Robbie would be there, old school legendary salsa DJ. A lot of different, you know, he would actually be there most of the time, and a lot of the Valley Salseros will all be there, you know, and would be dancing the night away, right? And then you had the Roomba Room. Roomba Room was at Universal City Walk. That was a spot too, man. It would be happening on Sundays as well. Um, so actually, you know, there's times I think the Ventura one would close down, and then the Roomba Room, like a lot of people switched over to the Roomba Room over there, and it was happening over there. You had a instructor, Marco Antonio. Um, he would teach there, and the Roomba Room on Sundays was happening. They would have live salsa bands, and it would just get jam packed. I would be there every Sunday, you know, dancing the night away, and yeah, it would get jam packed. You know, it was a cool spot for many years. You know, and you know it closed down as well, but really cool spot. Um, Man, it was happening. Um, and what else? There was some other spots. I'm just trying to remember. So yeah, you had the Roomba Room, Mama Juana's, Olivia's, and even like Alejandro So used to have some socials as well. He would have it right there by Fallbrook Mall, and it would be at this like banquet place and everything. He would have like some nights there, and it was pretty cool back then as well. Happening spot, and also we had the Odd Tree in Burbank. That's happening. Um, what else? It was the legendary Sportsman's Lodge. Oh, that was a legendary place. They actually said that's where a lot of salsa started right there. It went all the way back in the day. And What's his name? it was Albert Torres used to do a lot of events there. That place has a lot of history there. And even there was different instructors rotating there, and I would take their classes and then social dance as well. I would see a lot of times Josie Neglia there. She's a famous salsa instructor, and and then they would have live bands, a lot of cool bands there, and and I remember I was really getting good with Alex de Silva's moves and spinning a lot at that time. I was practicing my spins. I was doing a lot of spins at that time, and I was doing a lot of Alex de Silva type footwork and everything. And then I remember Salud, Sergio and Salud. Salud would she saw me doing my moves, and she was like, oh, like she was like shocked. And Sergio, I think he knew that I was going to Alex de Silva's classes too. So I would go to Sergio's classes and also Alex de Silva's, and I think like Sergio knew, okay, he's learning from Alex de Silva as well. But yeah, it was happening back then. I remember I was practice like I was always practicing like trying to do a lot of spins, right? And Angel Lebron, he's a famous band member, and I did like I'm over here dancing salsa, and then I did it was my time to spin. I went ba 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 ba. I was doing a bunch of spins, and Angel LeBron was like he was like he even made a comment when he was singing like he's like oh wow like and so that was the time when I was really practicing a lot of my spins, trying to spin as much as I can. And then what's crazy is like one time I was at the Sportsman's Lodge and I was dancing salsa, right? And I look to the side and I see this big old tall guy, big old giant. I'm like, I was like, and I looked like I'm over here dancing salsa, and I looked, and guess who it was? It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I was like, oh wow, Kareem knows how to dance salsa. I was like, wow. And the lady he was dancing with was a tall lady too. I was like, oh man, it's crazy. Like two giants dancing salsa, right? And they just like stand out in front of everyone. So the Sportsman Lodge, it was happening in a cool spot. A lot of the people from the LA salsa scene, would be there a lot, and it was a good experience. Too bad it closed down as well, but that was a legendary spot right there. It went all like that whole Sportsman's Lodge, the salsa. Albert Torres, he put it down. He's the one that started all the LA salsa congresses and went global around the world. And matter of fact, I used to even sometimes work for him. I would lay out the dance wooden floor, and what a lot of times you would he would definitely hire people to lay out the dance floor. So I did some of that with my friends, right? And we would lay out the dance floor at the salsa congresses and everything. And the salsa congresses were happening, man, out here in Los Angeles. Albert Torres, he would just invite all kinds of famous people, really good bands. Um, and and when Albert Torres passed away, I think three people took over the whole LA salsa festival. It kind of like they created their events, and there's a lot of people doing it now. But yeah, Francisco Vasquez was one of the legendary founders of LA style salsa. You have Jeanette Valenzuela and Rogelio Moreno, and they have now the Los Angeles Salsa Festival too event as well. It's still happening. But Albert Torres, man, he would have all these like people, performers, and lots of really good bands. It was really cool. The whole salsa congresses, and they would have workshops. I would take up a lot of those workshops. Like throughout the day, early in the day, different people around the world, famous instructors and dancers, like teaching different workshops, different salsa, like, some would teach like, Afro Cuban, rumba, spins, technique, patterns, a lot of different things, and I would just definitely attend all those workshops and absorb a lot of that stuff, and yeah, the salsa congresses were really cool, really happening, and yeah, definitely. And also, I forgot to mention, Rogelio Moreno. I call him like he's kind of like the salsa rebel, right? He has that clean, he has that rebel style. You see him, kind of has that old school Pachuco look, and he has a pretty cool styling. I kind of like his styling. He actually has a good video that I've actually purchased some of those too. And back in the day when I first started, him and Josie Neglia, but he taught some really cool footwork in that video. I was like soaking that stuff up too. Um, but definitely those congresses were cool, and I would buy lots of dance videos and everything. I have a whole collection of all this salsa like videos and everything, like just absorbing that and learning more. And definitely, so the salsa congresses were the was the place to be at, and then you had different clubs out here in Los Angeles. There's so many of them, but the spot to be on Sundays is Steven's Steakhouse. That's a legendary place too, and it's still happening. Salsa and bachata, it gets packed, every Sunday, and it's the spot to be at. If you're a lot of good dancers show up there. They have salsa at towards the evening. They have dance classes as well. Um, Interesting is a guy named Demetrio. He teaches some Dominican style bachata. And that's cool. That's cool that he's doing it. Um, and they have salsa classes there as well. But yeah, sometimes there's performances there, competitions, different things going on at the Steven Steakhouse. So that's the spot to be at. They actually put a new floor there. I just saw a posting. They have a new floor there, so definitely go try out that floor over there. Man, you could probably spin a lot there. um, and also the Granada. The Granada is a place to be on Saturdays. Live bands too. It gets jam packed, and they have the bottom level and then top level. The bottom level is salsa. Live there's live bands there, and the top level is like they have bachata. Dancing. And I would get there. I actually had a friend, DJ Kenny, when he used to DJ there, and I would get on his guest list and get a discount. And I would be there a lot of times with my friend, my Ecuadorian friend. We'd be dancing there, and you see a lot of good dancers there at the Granada. And I think that's where it's like around was it? I think Alhambra or somewhere out there. And yeah, I would go there a lot, and I actually made friends with a rumbero. So Francisco Vasquez, one of the founders of LA style salsa, he created a group called Los Rumberos, and they're famous, a famous dance team, right? And they perform a lot, and they have this pachuco style, right? And it's pretty cool. I actually like that style, and they even did some plays, kind of like Zoot Suit, but it's kind of like a salsetto version of it, right? And Francisco's into the old school stuff too, the vintage stuff, the mambo and all that, and does rumba and a lot of other stuff too. But Francisco, man, I just like the way he spins. He's like ba 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 spinning. He influenced Christian Oviedo as well with all that spinning and everything. But the Vasquez brothers, they say they're responsible for a lot of the LA style, the founders. Um, you know, the Vasquez brothers definitely dominated the LA salsa scene. They would win lots of Mayan competitions back then, and some of Francisco stayed in LA, and I caught his other brothers moved to Italy, and they spread LA style salsa over there. LA style salsa as it became global, and it was due to a lot of famous people too. It's Francisco, Abel Pena, Alex da Silva, a lot of other famous people out here. Rogelio Moreno, a lot of famous people out here. But the whole Granada, like you know, I would go there, and I met a guy who was part of Los Rumberos, and he he actually saw me in the valley dancing with his partner at that time. Like he would show up at the club, and this lady was part of the Los Rumberos too as well. And I just happened to dance with her, and she was really good. And I was like, oh man, I started going off. I was like, okay, this girl's good. So I was like, just going off like with really good. Like hey, I'm on. Welcome everyone. I'm on live here. Um, you just entered. I'm on YouTube and Instagram. So yeah, I made friends with this guy from Los Rumberos, Johnny Vasquez. I mean, wait, Johnny was it? No, Johnny Vargas. My bad. Johnny Vargas was part of Los Rumberos, and me he would me and him would go to the Granada. He would take me there, right? And we would go, and um, we would commute over there, right? And to the Granada, and we would be there a lot, at the Granada on Saturdays, and we would be dancing there, and we'll be hanging out, and like right there, right in the front, right there, and he had his spot, right, and I didn't know that was his spot, so he had this spot, and I would just be hanging out there too as well, and this is how I became somehow friends with the Los Rumberos and connected with them. And, you know, definitely, the Granada was happening, still happening too, to this very day, Um, and speaking of Los Rumberos, one of my friends, um, he's also part of Los Rumberos, and his name is Pedro, and he actually performs with Liz Lira right now. And like I said, Liz Lira, she's a famous world champion. So now my friend is performing with her, and it's cool. Like everyone knows each other in the salsa scene. Everyone, we have a salsa community. Everyone knows each other. We're all friends out here. You get to meet different people, you network and all that. Uh, but And then you also had another club called the Warehouse. The Warehouse out there. I think it was out there towards what was it? It's a little past Santa Monica. I forgot exactly where it's at, but that's I think that's still happening. It gets jam packed. The only issue is it gets so jam packed that you can't really move there, but it gets packed there. Same thing with F Floriditas. They used to get really packed and like you can't really dance there. Everybody's all squished up like sardines, you know. So I kind of like a lot of room when I dance. So that's why I like clubs like Stevens or the Granada. There's more room there to dance, you know. Um, yeah. So, but the warehouse was is still happening, you know, right now. So, um, and yeah, it's just. Oh, and I remember Hacienda out there by LAX. That was a spot too on Sundays right there. We would dance there all night. Me and my friends would meet up every Sunday, you know. And I remember Raul Santiago used to teach there, and he used to teach salsa and the hustle. And he's a hustle champion as well. He still teaches around here too. I think out here in Los Angeles. Um, and I took some of his hustle classes. Yeah, and it's kind of like Latin hustle as well. It is Latin hustle. But yeah, definitely. You have these different clubs out here, different instructors. Um, you know, it's there's just so many of them that I'm trying to recall at this moment. So you definitely had all these valley ones, and then out here in Los Angeles, the main ones are the Granada, Stevens, you know. Oh, and the Third Street Promenade. I forgot about that. Santa Monica on Sundays. They dance right there in the Third Street Promenade. Lots of people meet up there. And it's near the Santa Monica Pier. It's still happening every Sunday. And lots of people just meet up and start dancing, you know. A lot of cool dances there, you know. And we have a lot of salsa communities everywhere, you know, out here in Los Angeles. And that's why it's important to learn some salsa, man. Like you can learn some salsa, and and you can connect and with these communities and be involved and enjoy the night away dancing, have some fun, make friends. Everyone knows each other, network, and all that stuff. But yeah, the salsa scene is happening. So I mentioned like some of the dancers, and I mean dance instructors, and I'm on live. I'm on live, so welcome to my live chat. I'm on live. Hello, hello. I'm recording. Excuse me. I'm recording. No talking. Ay, ay, ay. I'm on live chat and people are just talking, so I have to remind them. So, anyways, back to the topic. Um, so yeah, so definitely the salsa scene's happening. We have the salsa instructors out here. We have the dance community, different clubs, and even some of the DJs out here. You have DJ Robbie. There's a lot of DJs out here. But I knew Ray Kua, rest in peace. Um, he just passed away, but he was out here in the valley. But yeah, even the whole DJ scene and everything. You just gotta pretty much. If you like certain DJs, you definitely follow them and everything. And even in the salsa community, you have different elements. You have the instructors, the dancers, you got the promoters, you got the DJs. You have the venues and all that. Performers, dance teams out here. You know, there's so much history out here. The Los Angeles dance, salsa dance scene. And there's so much to talk about, but um, I'm just trying to recall a lot of stuff out here, and maybe even some of this stuff is like I'm recording on video, and it's like it's history. It's history. A lot of people are gonna probably even forget about this stuff, but the way I am is I like I'm kind of like a dance historian. Like I talk from my experience, and I try to preserve it, try to recall what was going on in particular dance scenes. And today is the Los Angeles dance scene, salsa dancing, and definitely lots of history here, lots of stuff happening, and yeah, it's just if you want to learn some salsa, definitely learn it, man. It's fun. It's a lot of it's like good for you. It's exercise. You get used to get moving. You get the blood pumping. It's good for your brain. You connect with people. You know, you build networks. You socialize. All that stuff, man. It's really cool to be involved in this salsa dance scene, and it's fun. It's salsa is an art. It's a skill. It's an art, and definitely it's pretty fun out. To be dancing. I actually just came from a club last night. I actually taught a dance class, and then I went to a club. And actually, you know, there's even a salsa club called the V Lounge out here, and the V Lounge, even Christian Oviedo, he teaches there too. So the V Lounge is happening, and I was dancing the night away, salsa and bachata out there. And then and so that's like on Tuesdays. If you're out here in the valley, Tuesdays is the V Lounge, right? And then you have Thursdays Club Rain. That's happening. It gets jam packed there. Sometimes it gets so jam packed you can't really dance. Like you're like it's kind of like sardines. But it gets jam packed. Everyone from the valley goes there. Club Rain on Thursdays. That's a spot too. Can't forget that one. Um, yeah, definitely. And sometimes clubs open up and then they close down. And I guess a lot of the promoters they see okay they start a venue like they start an event, but if a lot of people don't show up, then they don't continue it, right? So I guess it's what the first impression is, right? Or maybe they'll try it a second time, but if it's not that many people, I guess they won't continue it. But if it starts building and it's more people, they keep it going. So definitely a lot of people show up on Club Rain on Thursdays if you're out here in the San Fernando Valley. Tuesdays, the V Lounge. I mean, there's always like salsa events in Los Angeles happening almost every day. Let me just what I remember when I first started, I was salsa dancing all every day almost. you know, just out there dancing, and it's good because the more experience you get, the more you get better, you get used to all this social dancing, right? Especially for you beginners out here. But like right now, currently, like what is happening out here in during the week? So on Tuesdays you have the V Lounge. Thursday you have the Club Rain. That's all in the Valley. And I'm trying to recall if any other ones exist that I'm aware of. Obviously, Saturdays is the Granada. Sundays is Stevens. Oh, Mondays at Floriditas, you know. What about on Wednesday? Let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm not too aware of anything happening on Wednesdays. Fridays, yeah, I'm not too aware what's happening, but yeah, usually you have. I'm sure there's a salsa club out there. You just gotta look it up, you know, definitely look it up. But yeah, there's always a place to go out here. And out here in Los Angeles, most people dance on one. There's some people that dance on two now. But most people dance on one out here. That's LA style out here, you know. But definitely there's a lot of history out here. You got a lot of, you know, famous OGs out here still putting it down, and definitely. Well, I guess I'm gonna, well, it's actually like in my dance classes, I actually teach a lot of the LA style. I do teach some other stuff like rumba and Cuban style as well, some mambo. Um, you know, I do definitely teach a lot of the LA style salsa on one, and definitely I guess I'll end it here with this chat. But if you want to join my dance classes, definitely connect with me below. You can send me a message on Instagram or go to my website. But you could connect more with me on my Instagram. Send me a message. I offer dance classes, private lessons. Um, just hit me up. I teach salsa, bachata, cumbia, cha cha cha, merengue, rockabilly jive, swing, house, popping, and definitely if you need some dance classes, group classes, join my classes, or if you need some private lessons, definitely. Anyways, well, I'm gonna let you guys go, and you guys, you know, definitely learn to dance. All right, you guys have a good day, and see you later.